Hi, I'm Arthur Zakowitz, and welcome to Corner of Fifth Street Talk. This is where we discuss industry trends in beauty, fashion, insights into the consumer, the luxury goods market, real estate, banking, finance, as well as trying to answer a really important question, which is what does fashion apparel, beauty, and retail mean to you? So today we have a really special guest. I'm happy to welcome Terri Eagle, who's a five-time CEO, author and founder and CEO of the Terri Eagle Group, which is a business advisory firm focused on helping founder-led and family-owned businesses build enterprise value, prepare for succession, and scale with leadership and operational discipline. Terri, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm great. Like we said, it's Friday.
Hey, it's not Friday. I don't know if it's going to be published on a Friday, but we're recording on a Friday. So before we started rolling,
Okay.
we're talking about how
That's
important
right.
Friday is. And especially, I think if you're a founder, right, or a C-level executive, it probably doesn't come soon enough. It's the burden is heavy, and I know you served in different roles in companies, across different segments, including now you're advising founder-led and private equity-backed businesses. Can you walk us
Yes,
through your career path and maybe some of the key milestones that shaped how you think about leadership and scaling companies?
of course. Thank you. I also want to give a shout out to International Women's Month, the month of March, and kick that off on Sunday. So proud to be part of the group of great women in business, women, female leaders, and it's a great month of March. I wore pink today because I thought
Yay!
little treat to spring. I'm counting on this spring hitting soon. But yes, I have had the great fortune of working with very fabulous brands my entire career. And I had set a goal to work with L'Oreal at a pretty much out of college. And that was my first entree into business. And I really loved that entire first opportunity. It traveled me to New York City for a sales meeting, and I set a goal at that meeting that I wanted to move and relocate from Seattle, Washington. This is where I'm from, and family and friends, and grew up there. I know I've been in New York for quite a while, but they traveled me across the US. I relocated to Dallas, Texas midstream. But I really started from the ground up, sales and marketing. And it has helped me a lot. And starting out in a big corporate environment helps a lot. They were very disciplined on training and education. And we were part of never practicing on the customer. So you were videotaped. It was just a beautiful, fabulous first experience. And I then set my sights. I would say most of all, I've been a goal setter my entire career. I've set goals and, you know, how I saw the landscape, whether it was for my career or I'm very disciplined with the businesses to now in my own business to prepare a roadmap for the time that I spend with the businesses, the founders, and ownership that we are very clear on what are the pain points, what's the plus, what's the minus. And during that time when I was with L'Oreal for a little more than 5 years, and then I went on to a couple startups. So that has helped me now in the fragrance world. And then I joined Montblanc, and I'm really really thrilled to share with you all. That was my first step truly in the luxury market, and it's a fabulous story. Why? Because I had the great pleasure to work with a real star CEO at the time, Stanislas de Kersis was my CEO at Montblanc, came from Van Cleef, and we were on a mission to take the pens that were sold at Staples and go up. And he was from Paris. They flew him to the States to turn the pen into a writing instrument into a luxury brand and talk about, earning your stripes in that opportunity. And I was part of the upward swing of building boutique in-store shop-in-shops, launching retail, and setting a stage. No longer the Staples brand, it was the upscale luxury writing instrument that turned into leather watches and all the wonderful environments it is today to draw a consumer.
The Montblanc, it's a great brand. And they have such a dedicated following. And you mentioned that growth. I noticed that myself, just kind of extending the brand, into different kind of product types and categories. And I think it continues to evolve, and I think that's interesting too because it takes a lot of vision. You have to think long term as well. So
Yeah,
kudos on that work. Yeah,
thank you.
having led through growth and transformation and transition, how do you measure success? What does successful leadership kind of mean to you today?
Well, I think about what feels like, certainly on a milestone, like learning how to make a brand look great in branding. And then what looks good to me in leadership today. And I love this. I picked it up honestly on LinkedIn and I think it's really cool. Teamship.
Teamship.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be lonely at the top in any business. We do have teams and we have leaders and we have executive teams. So I think the closer you are as a CEO, founder, business owner, gather everyone and the new modern way is don't be in a capsule by yourself, like don't be just marketing, don't be just sales, just finance. Gather all the talent that you selected as a founder and get around the table and just talk through and make everyone feel the plus, the win, and the minus. And you don't have to be lonely, and that is something that takes a bit. No one educates you on that along the way. But the greatest gift for me was when I launched my book and I had an event, a book launch event, and every one of my management teams from my 6 various beautiful companies that I've been part of, they were all there. And that was such a beautiful tribute to getting things done together as a team. And, it's I've been part of some fast paced, fast growing. I've survived the COVID brand. I mean, I was part of the best part of being at David Yurman for those almost 8 years with David and Sybil Yurman. And, they had the vision to uh, just continue to create beautiful jewelry. David as a designer and Sybil is a brilliant marketer, and they invited me to be with them. And where could we take it? And I'm really grateful for all those things we did every single day that were new. And it's funny because it wasn't for everyone. We were like a family to reckon with, and sales were by leaps and bounds. But that's what I'm most proud of is the teamship.
The when you look at like very compelling brands, it always starts with the vision of the founder, right? So from Ron Popeil to David Yurman or Stuart Weitzman, it's a very clear vision, right? From your experience, what are the strengths of founder-led companies, especially when you're in those early stages?
Right. I think it really has always gone back. I've been with leading brands that have a beautiful product, and that still is the core of everything I've seen that's been successful, that it's an incredible product collection from any category, and it has a story with it. And a lot of it, I found that if it goes back to the root of the founder and there's a voice there. I had thought about, just reflecting back on all the brands, and they had a clear story and a focus on the path, the founders that I've been a part of. And the ones that didn't want to rush it and do it right were the most successful that I was part of.
We had Hadley Pollitt on. She's a designer, and she used to she's selling Saks and very whimsical stuff. And she shared that, like her story, these really a deep personal conviction for launching her brand was 9/11 and wanting to form connections with people, and it really informed her brand as it grew. So, at what point does that instinct that built the company to begin with? How do you make that scale, like over time?
I think and that is another super great question. I really believe that the founder that is in the market like gets out there, meets with the clients, does special events, has a give back to the community, and hears positive feedback from the clients. And they receive more and more inspiration than being in their design studio. Almost everyone I have worked with has had an incredible passion for what they do, highly talented, and it drives the overall success of the business.
When you said that what makes a brand special very in those early stages can sometimes be constraining to that brand's growth later on. So, how can founders recognize when it's time to kind of expand their wingspan of the organization and allow more leadership and other, kind of visionaries on board? When's that time? When does that happen?
It's I have encountered this a lot, and from my companies, and then in my new venture, they know, and I see them as being master ball jugglers, and they're getting to a point where they just can't even breathe because they've created an environment where there's nobody, number 1, to go to that they trust. Number 2, everyone knows they're the decision maker, and they're losing what they're best at, which is their creativity, and they're bogged down with the operational, maybe the finance, those key factors that could really help you grow. Founders do know. And when they are like kind of having trouble breathing on a certain day, like it's kind of like a wake up point of it's time to bring in a good business partner. And I do give incredible credit back to Sybil and David. They were on, the cusp of really taking off, and then I was invited to join them, and they had the vision there, not just in product, but for the long term of their business, that they would like a partner to help. And we did all kinds of fabulous things for the first time together. And I don't think founders should be afraid of it if they do their research and they ask enough people, and they go and have dinners and coffees and get to know the person as a human being and not the deliverables. A lot of people have a great resume, but do you see them, like, becoming part of the founder family?
The I worked on different boards for nonprofits, and one was a founder. It was a long. It was been around for like 40 years, and he's been retiring for like 5 years now. It's hard to let go. Is there such thing as founders syndrome, and how do you manage that as a team? I guess.
So that is I have experienced that in 2 companies. And one company, the founder became like during the whole interview time and the time we got to know each other, truly ready to go play golf and get out of the office. And you've got these new ideas, new inspiration. And he was there a lot, having lunch and engaging. And I think if you can know your place for the long term, and where can you benefit the organization, and really probably maybe never want to leave. And that's okay if you find yourself a place so the team can flourish when you're not there. And that is a advice I do have for maybe older generation that decide they want to pass the baton, but maybe have a 1 to 2 year plan of how you will counsel, educate, be a good patron to the business so that you don't lose the heritage and the culture and what you built for all these years. No one, I don't think, should walk out the door, but they should graciously have a plan eventually to say, you've got it.
So, what does that look like? What is the transition from a founder-driven company to a leadership-driven organization in practice? What does that look like?
In practice, usually the business desperately needs change because it has acquired ways of doing maybe the financial structure, because maybe cash was limited. They didn't have the knowledge from a new leadership team that could bring in new modern systems. And so I think it's really important to almost interview the founder and really find out the pain points And then you can plan with the founder the map of how, because it can't happen overnight. The business didn't get built overnight. But what are the key elements, first of all, to help the business grow? What's holding it back? Who do you need over what period of time? Because the ramp up is always high and hard. But whoever is in the present team, if there's anyone, I've been where the leadership bench is small. I've been where it's large, and everywhere I've been, it was necessary to change in a good way, to come up with new ideas to grow. And that's where I think it's important if everyone can get around the table and bring their ideas of, well, what should we do now to get this for the next 20 years and enjoy that process, but not have the attitude, well, this is the way we've always done it, because that doesn't take the business forward.
There's some very strong founder brands, especially in consumer goods and beauty. Tom's of Maine, for example,
Yes.
um, Burt's Bees. There are other brands like Ben and Jerry's. That's a good one. They have very strong identities, and so how do you protect that brand's identity and its DNA while building kind of the systems and strategies and executions that leadership really needs to scale that brand?
Well, I think it's a good job with the leadership team to have an understanding that will protect the core of the business and what got it to the place. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Um, and analyze, like, it's really back to basics. What's selling? What's working? And how close are you to your customer? Like, sometimes there's too many meetings and not enough get out in the market and really understand what's happening. And, I grew up on don't read your own press, but please read the reports of what's selling. And don't kid yourself if you really think that the banana ice cream is your best flavor because you like it, owner. Make sure that your consumer thinks that banana flavor is awesome. And sometimes it's just hard, especially with a designer, that they'll admit that, well, maybe that wasn't the best seller. But there are so many great tools now to read what's really working, whether it's on your social media or what you've shipped, that the facts will tell you and help guide you to do even better things. But I think more companies should get out and meet the market and be inviting, to locations. I will forever get a kick out of Bloomingdale's. What a cool place. And they're getting like crazy because they've stayed in their core. They've had amazing leadership forever. And sure enough, it's working, that formula. They're great to their people, they have great training, and they love up their customers, and it's a fun experience to walk in there. And, they're doing the same thing under the leadership of globally, the whole wingspan, Tony Spring, to run it all. So it can be done in a really great way.
Does the leadership structure is it different, or is it are the requirements for an early stage company versus a maturing company that's scaling? Is the leadership structure have different requirements? Do you think?
Oh, for one that is scaling versus one that is maintaining?
Yeah,
That the
exactly. Yeah.
question? Okay.
Change, right? Does it change over time? Like,
Uh, I mean, I think that having your whatever you are doing in the business, it's really important to be market savvy and aware of what's happening and refresh, reset, and weekly spend time to know factually performance, because you'll get a good read on the tools that are provided if what you're doing is working and gaining new customers. It's like a doctor's office. Do you have new patients? No new patients. But how are you doing to generate more new clients? Are you attracting that? And be willing to uh, do a deep dive and understand if you're not growing, to be willing to figure it out. And I think that if you have that spirit in the company always, that we're not afraid to make some tries. That's sometimes is the error, is not at least trying to do it in a new way, a new, modern way, but that comes from market savvy knowledge, leaving the office, getting out, get into the market, and just breathe what's happening in business.
Is, tell me a little bit about your book, the title and what it's about, what it covers.
Thank you. Yes, it is The Champagne CEO, a sparkling journey of courage, confidence, and collaboration. I was tapped by Forbes. They had contacted me. It's one of my funny stories of a text, a call, whatever. I thought it must be a scam, like telling me about a book. So I finally took the call about 3 weeks and they said, Terry, we're really interested in seeing if you have ever thought about writing a book. And I said, well, it's kind of like cocktail conversation with my various businesses I've been part of. And I've not, 6 different business categories and reinvention, all the things. I said, I would love to, but I wouldn't know where to begin. So they said, would you do an outline of like 15 chapters? I said, I'll try. And they said, then we go through a process, we make a selection. We'd like you to do the business book. So I thought about it and I thought, when I first started in my career, if I could give takeaway tips, in a business book, sometimes you highlight, you tab it. Oh, I got to remember this. But at the end of each chapter, it's a story of like really how I started, but what led me to the disciplines of the goal setting and really the champagne about the celebrating the teams to care for the people. I would know their birthdays, I would know where they were on vacation, where is he staying at, and I love the element of surprise to try and say thank you because it's hard to every business it feels like I've been in, it's been a lot of hard pace and a lot of go, 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 and, you have to take time out. And so when I wrote this book, it was about a 15-month process. I'm really proud of it. It is a top 10 bestseller on Amazon, 10 different categories from business to entrepreneur to women in business, leadership, building a business. And I didn't know how it would turn out, but it sure is I'm proud of it. But I will tell you, I didn't read my own press until I started seeing the Amazon reviews. So anyway, but it was fun and it was a great adventure. And the greatest gift of all really has been building. I'm an entrepreneur now and not all CEOs can accomplish that. And I have the most incredible team. And now I go out, I set this goal that I could help founders and family led. And I know it so well. And I just am out helping those clients. And I do a roadmap and we talk and then we do the work. And it's just the greatest joy, and my team is awesome as well.
I'm gonna have to check it out. So yeah, one last question, and you kind of touched on this before, but let's just bring it back about
Okay, sure.
kind of the question of the century is what does
Huh?
retail leadership and brand leadership and just retail and fashion in general, what does that mean to you personally?
Experience and care. I don't think I've been asked that question, but I will always enjoy the joy of the experience with a brand. I love going into the boutiques, the larger stores, and I watch and I learn and I listen, and that is important. That you know you treat everyone like that could be the next love of whatever your collection is, and just it's showtime. That's what the store leadership should be like, sincerely. And I remember, like, the best win was it's showtime. The doors are open and let's embrace and make them feel welcome. And, I've been part of my own retail businesses and, just enjoy because that's your customer. And so that keeping that together and all, I am an advocate to be, if there is an office, to be in it, to win it, not home on a Zoom. And in my own business, I just want to get out and meet the people. And that is the root of building an amazing relationship, earning trust. And it can't be done over a Zoom call. Just no way. So that I think if leaders and CEOs and all the businesses band together and get back to basics and get together. And I'm not 5 days a week, 3 to 4. I like to do the 3 day a week during the summer months. I'm a cool boss. I believe in balance, work-life balance. I truly do. But everyone I've ever been a part of to build these amazing businesses, they have really put their soul into it. And so that's why I love the champagne CEO. I like to reward them and have a nice dinner, fun time. And every time we hit a goal, take time to celebrate.
Can I work for you? You sound great. It sounds wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I have a client right now that I actually leave weekly. I go to the location once a week and I get the nicest notes, like so rewarding. Like I feel so inspired when you come in and I like the way that you manage your deliverables. Like sometimes the founders, they don't have this level of knowledge and I respect that. But they have what I don't have. I can't create the front. I love the marketing, I love the sales, I love all the elements, I love the finance of digging in and seeing how they can make more money and improve their margins. But it's a match made in heaven now because I no longer am in one office. That was a learning that took some time, but I get a kick out of going to these various places and helping. And it's fun. And I'm trying to
So
be the best I
thank you for
can
your
be in
time.
this entrepreneur life.
Thank, thank you, Terry, for coming on today, especially during Women's History Month.
Yes.
We're gonna have you come back, and I'm sure you have more stories to tell. I could tell.
Yes.
And
Thank
thanks for
you.
tuning in. Thanks everybody.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. What a nice way to spend Friday afternoon. Cheers.
Cheers.